Hello, everyone. I'm Tanya Rivero. Thank you for joining us. The FDA Vaccine Advisory Panel has unanimously voted to recommend authorizing a booster shot for the one-dose Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine. It comes a day after the panel voted in favor of approving a half-dose Moderna booster shot for high-risk adults. President Biden says a final decision from the FDA and CDC on booster vaccines will likely come in the next few weeks. Plus, the U.S. is easing its restrictions on foreign travelers next month. Starting November 8th, all foreign travelers will be allowed to enter after showing proof of vaccination and a negative COVID test. The new rule will apply to visitors flying into the country and non-essential travelers coming through land borders with Canada and Mexico. CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Zhang has more on the country's vaccination efforts.
We're headed in the right direction.
President Biden said his plan to get out of the pandemic is working.
Fix this now!
But he called out the unvaccinated for preventing more progress.
We're down to 66 million, still unacceptably high number of unvaccinated people from almost 100 million in July.
Many who got a Moderna vaccine could soon have access to a booster.
So we do have a unanimous 19 out of 19 yes votes.
An FDA advisory panel recommended a third shot for seniors, younger adults with health problems, and for anyone who works or lives in a place that puts them at a higher risk for contracting the virus. The dose will be half as much as the first two shots.
The immune response to the Moderna vaccine seems a little more robust and durable than the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine.
An authorization from the FDA could come in days. Then the CDC would meet next week, which would mean the earliest that Americans would be able to get the Moderna booster would likely be next Friday.
The FDA panel will also consider a study by the National Institutes of Health that has not yet been peer-reviewed, but finds that mixing and matching vaccines as a booster is safe. Then later this month, that same group will decide whether to authorize the Pfizer vaccine for children between the ages of 5 and 11. Weijia Zhang, CBS News, the White House.
I want to bring in John Moore and Max Bayer now. John is a professor of microbiology and immunology at Weill Cornell Medical College. Max is a CBS News researcher and reporter. Thanks to both of you for joining us. Max, let me start with you. So what's the next step after this recommendation?
So the FDA will act on this recommendation, basically taking the committee's recommendation into account. We expect that to happen sometime maybe early next week, and they'll be doing the same as it pertains to Moderna's booster as well. Then next week on Thursday, ACIP, the CDC's advisory committee, will discuss these booster doses and will make their recommendation on how they should be used. And eventually, based on that recommendation, the CDC director will then sign off on those recommendations. We expect that might be next Friday, a week from today. And at that point, then boosters can be rolled out to the public.
And Professor Moore, the rates of cases and deaths among people who were vaccinated with J&J's shot were higher than those who received two shots of Pfizer or Moderna. I remember you and I speaking about this, and you said you suspected that J&J was a two-dose vaccine, and now it will become one now with this booster being recommended. So do you believe that everyone who got the J&J the first time should, rush out and get the booster now?
Well, I think we should wait until the CDC has weighed in at the end of next week. I mean, people shouldn't really act ahead of advice, and they may not be allowed to go and do their own thing before the CDC issues its guidelines. For people in the older age groups, over 65s, particularly anyone over 80, there's a much more compelling need for a booster as soon as possible than for younger people in their 30s and 40s. I mean, the CDC has today posted a lot of very useful information, and the VA has also released a lot of useful data coming out of a large study. And both of those show for certain that the J&J vaccine is inferior to Moderna and Pfizer, which we've long known. But the people who are vaccinated and who have died in American healthcare systems, very, very few compared to unvaccinated people. And although it's worse for J&J than the mRNA vaccines, those deaths are almost exclusively in the over 65 age group. There's virtually no deaths at all in vaccinated people under the age of 65. So we're not in an acute crisis here. There's time to take at least another week for FDA, CDC, and the full body of administration health officials to weigh in and determine the best course of action. And I think it's worth taking that week, but I do expect approval of a second J&J dose in the near future for most people.
All right. And Max, was there any discussion of possibly mixing booster shots with a different initial vaccine? And if so, is that something that will be a lot easier to roll out, right? Because it's a lot easier for manufacturers and for vaccine providers and for people getting their vaccines if they don't have to be sure to get the exact same one they got the first time.
You make a great point there at the end, too. And that's actually what the committee is discussing now or just wrapping up now, is the data from an NIH trial looking at mixing and matching vaccines for a booster dose. That study found across the board that boosters were well tolerated, regardless of what you had for your primary series, and showed ranging degrees of a boost in an immune response. What I think some of the committee members maybe were a bit cautious of is going straight forward and amending the EUAs just based off of this data alone. But actually, just before this call, Dr. Amanda Cohen, who kind of represents the CDC on this panel, noted that the ACIP can't make any clinical recommendations for mixing and matching unless the EUAs are amended in some degree to allow for mixing and matching booster doses. So we'll see where the committee ultimately lands on this. Again, they aren't voting on this today. They're just discussing it. But it looks like they may coalesce around, in some degree, whether it's vague or general, may amend the EUAs to allow for CDC's advisory panel to go in and kind of more fine-tune the clinical recommendations so that, to your point, people who might have more difficulty now getting a J&J booster, if they had a J&J primary shot, can get one of the mRNA series as a booster.
So, John, what considerations should people weigh if they're thinking about getting a booster shot? I mean, obviously, those who are in these primary categories, over 65 or in any kind of line of work where they are overly exposed, should take all of this very seriously. But what about the average person who is coming up to that 8-month, 9-month threshold and thinks, you know what, I'd really like to get a booster shot too, just for peace of mind? What would you say to those people?
Wait and see what the guidance that emerges at the end of next week is. It's, again, people in their 30s and 40s are not at serious risk, even if they only had the one dose of J&J vaccine. That applies to my son and his partner, and I'm not losing sleep over their health, and I don't believe they are. But if a vaccine booster dose is recommended for them, then I'd certainly encourage them to take it once it's out there. See, this issue isn't really just about bureaucracy and procedure. We've spent all year fighting against people in the vaccine-refusing and vaccine-hesitant groups of Americans, and there's a lot of them, who argue wrongly but persistently that vaccine approvals are rushed and the data aren't properly analyzed, and it's all something that we're just told to do, and we can't see the data properly digested. Well, if we rush this, that's playing into that game, and it's not an absolute acute crisis. A day or two, a week or two won't really change things. But if we review the data properly, and remember the NIH data was only released on Wednesday of this week, it's being discussed on Friday of this week. It's unrealistic to expect a proper evaluation within the end of next week. So I don't think there will be approval granted for heterologous boosting with an mRNA in the near future, but it's certainly possible down the road. And the data certainly said that an mRNA boost gives you a stronger immune response. So it's a better option, provided it's properly reviewed, thoroughly digested for safety, and the public can then have confidence in the decision that emerges from the Biden administration. I think that's really important.
Right, that is important. It's funny, though, because we spent a lot of time talking about vaccine hesitancy, but we also need to discuss sort of vaccine enthusiasm, right? There are plenty of enthusiasts who want to go out and get more shots, and you're telling they should just cool their heels and wait for the research to come out. All right, John Moore and Max Bayer, thanks to both of you for joining us. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.